Our brains are incredibly complex and delicate organs. They are responsible for our thoughts, emotions, and movements. Protecting this vital organ is the skull, a strong, bony structure. Inside, it's sculpted with ridges and grooves. These ridges, called cranial ridges and sutures, provide support. They distribute force, but can also be a vulnerability. Sudden impacts can cause the brain to collide with these ridges. This can lead to traumatic brain injuries, or TBIs. Imagine holding a peeled orange in your hand. The segments of the orange, representing our brain, are closely packed and protected by the peel, similar to the brain being protected by the skull. Now, imagine that peel is instead a skull with protruding ridges on the inside of it. The segments would be jostled and could easily be damaged. This is a simplified analogy for how the brain, despite being protected by the skull, can still be vulnerable to damage when shaken or impacted. The location and force of an impact, combined with individual differences in skull anatomy, mean that some people are more susceptible to severe brain injuries than others. Just like the orange segments, if the brain impacts near a sharp ridge or prominent suture, the damage is likely to be more severe. Furthermore, the alignment and prominence of these ridges and sutures vary from person to person. This means a blow to the same area of the head in two different individuals could result in different injury patterns and severities. Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa's recent injuries have brought the issue of brain trauma in sports to the forefront. After experiencing multiple hard hits, Tua suffered a concussion that sidelined him for several games. His case serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of even elite athletes to brain injuries. While we cannot definitively say how much Tua's individual skull anatomy contributed to his injuries without a detailed analysis, his case highlights the potential role of these internal structures in the severity of brain trauma. Every impact, especially repeated ones, carries the risk of long-term damage. Section 4. The unseen enemy. Long-term risks of repeated head trauma. Perhaps the most concerning aspect of repeated head impacts and concussions is the risk of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. CTE is a degenerative brain disease found in individuals with a history of repetitive brain trauma, often athletes in contact sports. CTE is characterized by the buildup of an abnormal protein called tau in the brain. This protein disrupts normal brain function, leading to a range of symptoms, including memory loss, confusion, impaired judgment, impulse control problems, aggression, depression, and eventually dementia. The link between repeated head trauma and CTE is a growing concern, and it underscores the importance of protecting athletes from further brain injuries. Section 5. A difficult choice. Why Tua should prioritize long-term health. Tua Tagovailoa's situation presents a difficult but crucial question. Is continuing to play football, a sport inherently associated with head impacts, worth the risk to his long-term health? While the decision ultimately rests with Tua, it's essential to acknowledge the potential consequences of continued exposure to head trauma. Each impact carries the risk of furthering brain damage, potentially increasing his susceptibility to CTE and other neurological problems later in life. Retiring from football might seem like a difficult choice, but it could be the most responsible one for Tua's long-term health and well-being. It's a decision that prioritizes his future beyond the football field, allowing him to live a healthy and fulfilling life.